Should this look like this? That's not normal. That's not how I bought it. I just got this like a week ago, dude. Hey, I've been dry scooping it and it gets absolutely everywhere. And if you take creatine and you live with your parents, make sure they know you're taking creatine and what it looks like, because it's starting to look like I'm a crack addict. All right, we are here on the BO6 beta, baby. Definitely sweaty. Very sweaty. But sniping, let me tell you, sniping is insanely satisfying. I have hit some things, but yeah, I think most of them are split. Almost everything gets split in this game, I've noticed. But you know what? That's all right. We're gonna hit something crazy yet. That's no problem. But that is not the topic of this video. We are talking about depression. I released my testimony video recently, just a few days ago from recording this. In that video, I talked about having depression for about 4 to 5 years earlier on in my life, and I said in the text that I was going to make a video about it. But this isn't just about my experience. It's not just about how I got out of it and everything. Like, it's going to be about my experience. It's going to be about what depression actually is, what it does to you, how to get out of it as well. And then we're also going to talk about the religious point of view and how God is there to help you out of the situation. All right, you know what? Let's start with this here. What is being depressed? It is considered to be a mood disorder that causes persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest. And I'd say it's honestly, it's pretty accurate. It's pretty accurate. You don't feel like you want to do anything, but at the same time, you have a fear of missing out. You desperately want to make friends and you want to go out, but at least I did. But at the same time, you do not want to leave your room. You think about all the ways that it could go wrong. Then you think about talking to people and how many people are going to be there, and you're like, it just sounds awful, and you just want to dwell in your sadness and not really have to deal with people. At least that was my experience. That was mine. Obviously, it wasn't solely limited to that situation or that kind of situation, but that's just an example. But honestly, it completely consumes you. Like, you hate being sad, but at the same time, you don't know how to not be sad, and it's frustrating, extremely frustrating. And then you kind of give up because you're sad that you can't figure out how to not be sad. And after a while, you kind of just give up and you just embrace the sad and you get comfortable. Honestly, it's a lot of being stuck in that state is comfort. Being comfortable and realizing that staying in that state is so much easier than just trying to be happy and figure out what's going on. So you sit there and you embrace the pity that comes with it, and you want people to help you. You want people to want to help you and to hear you out and feel sorry for you and give you this attention towards your sadness so that it's validated. But at the same time, if they have advice, you don't want to hear it because you think, oh, well, you don't understand. You don't know. You're not going through what I'm going through. And it would just be too easy to just take their advice and move forward. And then you'd feel dumb because, like, oh, well, why didn't I think of that? I've been sitting here struggling with this for so long, and now you come along and say it's one thing and then I'm good to go. And after a while, it turns into, well, if you're not giving me pity and you just want to give me advice, then I don't want to hear it. I don't want to talk to you. At least for me, it did. Like, it's such a victim card. You're playing the victim so heavily, and it's just so unhealthy for everybody, especially yourself. You cannot move forward with that type of mentality in your life. I feel like I got a little sidetracked here. Just kind of went on a little mini rant about what depression did to me anyway. I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with that and relate to it. Give me more. I want more. That was kind of neat. Anyway, that was depression in a nutshell for me. It just completely consumed me, became part of my life, and I did not want to get out of it. But at the same time, I wanted desperately out of it. And it's hard to explain. But comfortability is essentially what the problem was. But comfort is a hell of a drug. Honestly, it is insanely difficult to get out of, and it's insanely difficult to push yourself for most people. But comfort can also be the devil in many instances. It can keep you stuck in places you don't want to be. Where's more? I need more. There is not more anywhere to be found. I guarantee I went the wrong way, didn't I? Yup. So yeah, like I was saying, I was depressed for 4 to 5 years, as I've said a million times over the last 2 videos now. Well, the beginning of the depression was a loss in my life. You know, I was a very, very happy kid. I had a lot of energy. And then in grade 7, I was starting to get closer to a cousin that I looked up to, that I really enjoyed. I used to only see him like once a year. He was older than me by a few years. And I just was able to start seeing him a little bit more. And then he ended up tragically passing away in a car accident at age 16. May God rest his soul. And, you know, I was young. You know, I was in grade 7. I didn't really know how to deal with it. It was my first loss that really impacted me. That was someone in my life that I actually really knew, you know. And being so young, I didn't know how to process it. said, I was kind of in the, like, death wasn't even a thought on my mind. It wasn't even on my radar, like, as a thing that was possible, you know what I mean? Obviously, I knew it existed, but I had never experienced it like that, so I didn't really get the magnitude of it, I guess. The magnitude of really never seeing this person again, unless in heaven, God willing. So that heavy heart kind of started it all, and then I took a few days off of school, and when I came back, I didn't really know what to do because I wanted to talk about it, but I also didn't want to talk about it, and I didn't know how the kids were going to be about it. I think my mom may have asked me if I wanted to make a request to not talk about it. Hold up. No! Those are both headshots, by the way. I wanted that quad head. I think it was, anyway. And I think I may have said yes, because I just didn't know what to do or how to talk about it, really. I was still kind of trying to process. But anyway, I got back to school, and I guess people didn't really know how to talk to me about this whole situation. So I know it was more so just quiet, and I was kind of just to myself. And then I put it in my head that I lost my friends. You know, it was mostly in my head. But because it was in my head, and because I thought that way, and because I didn't end up really trying to talk to them, because I thought, oh, well, they don't want to be my friends anymore, I ended up not really talking to many people for a while after that, when realistically it was my own doing. It was my own fault. But, you know, grieving's tough. It's not easy. Obviously everybody goes through it, but it doesn't mean that it's easy. Anyway, that was the start, and then it was just me playing the victim because, oh, I lost my friends and nobody likes me now and this and that, right? And there was also a rumor that spread about my cousin. This girl came out to me and said that she heard that my cousin was drunk at the time of the accident, and that really hit me because I knew that a lot of people would be like, oh, well, they were drinking, so it's, you know, what's gonna happen. But we got word back that while they were coming from a party, the cops told us that he had not been drinking, and that's actually the reason that I don't drink today. Well, it was the reason that I didn't drink for a long time, so I was like, you know what, no one's ever gonna be able to say that about me. I'm gonna be known as the guy that doesn't drink, basically. That's what I told myself in grade 7. And then I didn't drink throughout high school, and then I just once I healed through this whole thing, I guess I just don't have interest, really, you know what I mean? I have an addictive personality, for one, and I'm just somebody that really likes to be in control of himself. Obviously, God has the ultimate control, but if I can control how I am, how I act, how I react, that's more so what I mean. Anyway, back on track. So that's how it started, and then there was a whole bunch of things like the domino effect, because when you play the victim mentality, which I most definitely was, because I was young, and honestly, it's human, right? But it's extremely unhealthy. You know, that's the thing. There's power in the tongue, right? And if you're always playing the victim mentality, well, I mean, you're just gonna be the victim. That's simply how it goes. Then time went on, and the victim mentality continued. You know, little things here and there would happen that would just keep me down to my depression. That would just beat on me, you know what I'm saying? And it wasn't even like they were massive events. It wasn't like I was having people die left and right. It was mostly just little things, like I wouldn't get on the hockey team that I wanted, or I'd like a girl and she wouldn't like me back. And I mean, I didn't assert myself very well either, because I was in this depression, and I'd be hard on myself for not doing it. Or I'd miss out on an opportunity or an event because I didn't want to leave the house, and then I'd be hard on myself for leaving the house. And what's going on with my shot? I can't play and talk at the same time. And I mean, I also definitely had negative confidence. I wish that was a collateral, because I could have probably hit, and I just looked the wrong way. I also definitely lacked confidence because I looked so much different than I do now. I had these really nerdy glasses, right? super nerdy. That did not suit me whatsoever. I had unkept long hair down to here. That was not a good look. You know, like, people can pull off long hair. Dudes can pull off long hair. I cannot pull off long hair, especially not the hair I had. I also didn't dress super well. You know, shout out to my mom and the hairstylist that did my haircut to short for the first time, because I didn't want it. I was terrified, even though I hated the way I looked, and it actually really held me down as well. Like, did not help the depression whatsoever. It just caused me to be extra hard on myself, you know. But I was terrified. I was terrified of what was underneath that, because almost for years I looked like that. But, you know, my mom was like, listen, we're doing this, and the hairdresser was like, yeah, we're doing this, and it happened. And let me tell you, the hairstyle gave me confidence, and I swapped to contacts, and that gave me confidence, and it motivated me to get new clothes and everything. And then eventually I started working out. It did wonders for me, I'm not gonna lie. Obviously it didn't completely kick my being depressed to the curb, don't get me wrong, but it definitely helped me assert myself in certain situations and get to know more people. And confidence is very key, you know what I mean? When you're not beating down on yourself, obviously it's gonna help. If you already feel like you got the world beating down on you like almost daily, then you don't need yourself beating down on you as well. Confidence not only helps you in terms of meeting people and getting opportunities, which it definitely does, but it's not limited to that. It helps your mental health so drastically, because it opens up opportunities, and it opens up the ability to love yourself. It's just so helpful. Obviously you got to work for it, you got to work towards it, you got to honestly practice self-love as well. I know I had to practice that that. And honestly, I'm still practicing it. I'm still pretty hard on myself, but I'm still confident. Unfortunately, for a while, I got too confident, as I talk about in my testimony video, which I keep referencing. I got very prideful for a while. Long story short, luckily, God called me out of that. Though confidence isn't the only answer. It's not the only key, of course. There's still a couple years there where I was really struggling. You know, I lost a buddy that really sat hard with me. I was good friends with him for about 10 years or so, and then he ended up dying in a car accident as well. You know, he was a great guy. He was a really nice, genuine guy, and he was really funny, honestly. He was a lot of fun. And I'm not gonna lie, I still miss him, man. It's tough, but I'm hoping, God willing, that one day I will see him up in heaven. Be reunited and we'll have a good time. Yeah, there was that loss, and then I lost my girlfriend as well of 2 years. And there was some time between the two, between the loss and the breakup. Don't get me wrong, there was, I think, a few months for sure. But those two things, it kind of really, I noticed myself slowly sinking back into being depressed and that whole feeling. And I mean, obviously it was still around, but I felt myself sinking deeper into it, starting to remember the comfort of it and everything, and how easy it was to just embrace it and sit in it, you know. I'm 5 and 16. Wow. I didn't even realize how bad I was doing. I was so focused on the topic and what I was saying and trying to remember things. Maybe this will give me better lobbies though. Who knows? I sank back down for a little bit and I had to work up. I had to work back up. And it was tough. It was really tough. And I also talked about how God spoke to me in my time of need when I prayed to him, and when I honestly was about to do the ultimate dark thing that you want to do when you're depressed. I don't know how I can word it on YouTube so that it won't get taken down. So basically, I prayed to God in a time of desperation. I woke up the next morning with a text message of a Bible verse that pertained to my situation perfectly and ultimately made me feel better. And that phone number ended up being completely out of service, belonging to nobody. It's honestly, it's a really beautiful story. God really pulled me through, and he is the reason that I'm still here today, wholeheartedly. Oh, no! I thought I was about to hit a triple. That's heartbreaking. Anyway, if you want to hear that story as well, I will toss a timestamp for that one in the description. But the point of me telling you about this is that I want to show that I actually know what it is like. I'm not just coming to you saying, oh, here are the solutions. Anyway, I've never experienced it. No, I do know what it's like. I was there for a long time, and it's extremely difficult. And the solutions I'm going to be telling you here, the way out, the way that I found out anyway, I'll be extremely real with you right now. You will have to put in work. It took me a bit of time. It took me a lot of effort, which for somebody that is depressed, that is extremely difficult to do. Effort is not something you want to put into things. It's just, it's tough. It's really tough. It's tough to find the motivation to do stuff like that. But I beg of you to just hear me out. Just hear me out and give it a shot, because I promise you it helps. It definitely helps. So I'll start off with how I got out of it and the efforts that you need to make to do so. There's something that my therapist taught me when I was in the middle of my depression, or being depressed, sorry, that at the time I did not listen to whatsoever. I thought that she was full of garbage. She didn't understand what I was going through, yada yada yada. I just didn't want to be there. I did not want to be there because I was comfortable in my being depressed, and I didn't want to escape. You know what I mean? I wanted to escape, but at the same time I was so comfortable that I didn't want to escape. But years later, I think God may have put it back in my brain, because I remembered it like 2 or 3 years later. Basically, she had me doing these exercises in which she would give me these topics, right? And they would be either clearly positive or clearly negative, and then I would try to find a positive in the situation, no matter how bad it was, right? So we did that a few times, and then she told me to do that in real life as well. Basically, anything and everything that happens to me throughout my everyday life, think about a positive, even if in my head it's a really bad thing. You know what I mean? Like something happens where maybe I break my leg, something clearly unfortunate. Just practice thinking about what positive thing came out of it, or what negative thing didn't come out of it, and then turn it into a positive that way. For example, I talked about this analogy in my testimony video. Let's say you get in a car crash, right? You get in a car crash and you break your leg in this car crash. Now you can sit there and be like, oh great, now my leg's broken and I can't do this, and oh, I'm so cursed, my life sucks. Or you can think about it as in, you know what? I didn't die. I just broke my leg. I got off clean. I could have had a head injury. I could be paralyzed. I could be dead. Any of these things, but I am alive. I still have my brain. I can think. I can communicate. And my leg is going to heal up. Obviously, it's just a broken leg. It's going to heal up. That was the type of positive thinking that I would go through every single day and practice. This was obviously, again, years later after my therapy, because my brain being a pain in the butt. Not that I didn't need it. Not that I was doing perfectly fine the way I was, and I could just dwell in my being depressed and sadness, because it was just so much easier than being happy. And it was with that realization that I had to do stuff like that and actually practice my positivity in my brain to get to the point where I was naturally thinking positive. Kind of like the gym, you know, you go to lift weights to get bigger. You're working out your body. You have to work out your mind as well and actually practice these things to get better at them. I started to realize I was the only one that could actually take me out of being depressed. People could give me a little push, or they could make me feel better in the moment, or this and that. But in the end, nobody can change my emotions, my feelings, except for me. I started to realize that I needed to make a decision to be happy. Is this map just broken right now? What is going on? Maybe it's just broken for me. I don't know, because everyone else is running around. This is not playable. Let me tell you, controlling my emotions and controlling my brain and trying to tell myself I was happy in situations in the beginning, especially, was extremely difficult. I could do it for short periods of time, maybe, or tell myself that I was doing it, but ultimately I wasn't really changing anything because I just wasn't, I wasn't used to it. You know what I mean? I had never practiced this before. I was super weak-minded mentally, and I'm not trying to say that everyone with depression is, don't get me wrong. I just know that I was. Now, upon practicing this, it took me some time, but I started to get really good at it, and let me tell you, even just that little thing helped so incredibly much. It's remarkable. And as I got better at it, I started to realize I wanted to know more. I wanted to learn more about my brain and how it operated, and how to become more consistent with happiness. And the next thing that was thrust upon my brain is that everything happens for a reason, and this one really helped me elevate my brain and my thinking towards positivity, or more so, I guess more so away from negativity. And then I started practicing something else on top of my positive thinking, and that was whenever something bad happened, I'll start to consider why did this have to happen, and why did it have to happen now, and what benefit is this going to have on me in the future, or what benefit did it have on others? Because as much as we'd like to believe, not everything is about ourselves. I had to learn that. Now, this theory definitely dives into some extremes, but at the same time, you never actually know. You know, this definitely could have been the case. For example, we're gonna go back to the car crash thing. Why I don't know why I keep jumping to this. It's just the analogies that I have on my brain right now. Oh, shots getting spicy out here. Let's say you're going on a road trip, right? You're taking like an hour and a half drive down the highway to go somewhere for an event, or for, I don't even know, just like shopping or something. But before you even hit the highway, right, you have a little car accident in town. It totals your car, but everyone's fine, and you can't go. Come on. Where are they? No, behind me. That keeps happening to me. These spawns flip so easily that I never know where to actually look. Now you can't go to this event and you're upset. There's negatives swarming your brain, which is extremely human, right? I mean, it would happen for me too. Then you start to think, why did this accident happen, and what could have happened? I mean, you could have hit the highway, right? You could have hit the highway, gotten an accident there. Toast. You and maybe 3 other people, who knows, could have been toast, which obviously is a worse situation, a worse scenario, losing my headset. Or again, you could have been paralyzed or something, you know, anything could have happened. But instead, you got in a little car accident in town, nobody got hurt, your car got written off, you're gonna get some money for it, and there you go. Ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't actually matter that much, right? That is the main thing. Think about it. In a month from there, you're gonna get a new car, you're still gonna be healthy, and insurance covered most of it. You probably don't even have to pay that much for the car anyway, and life is just gonna go on normal. Or you get your car fixed by insurance, and then you're good to go. Now, if I know anything about my journey and how my brain was, some of you may roll your eyes at this whole thing, but I'm gonna need you to just trust me and just try it. Like, what's the harm in trying? You know what I mean? Because that was my entire journey out of depression. I practiced that for probably, I'm not gonna lie, it may have taken over a year. Does that mean it's gonna take over a year for everybody? No, it doesn't. It most definitely does. It is, in my head, imperative that you try, because living in depression is not a life for anybody, man. It really isn't. Sorry, living life being depressed. You may be wondering why I am saying being depressed instead of depression. Now, the last thing I want is to sound insensitive. Okay, like I said, I know how difficult it is. I know being depressed is extremely tough, and it's not something to take lightly. However, I think we have put a label on things as a society that are extremely dangerous and honestly detrimental to mental health. Like, if you think about it, you can say that you're depressed today and just chalk it up to being a thing today. You're having a rough day. As soon as you call it depression, give it a label and label it as a condition, then it starts to become an excuse, or at least it's a lot easier to use that as an excuse. I know when I was depressed, I would almost always use that as an excuse, like, oh, well, I have depression, so it's fine. I'm just gonna dwell in this because, well, that's just how my body is right now. I have this depression, and then with that, I wouldn't even try to get out of it. But I think labeling it as having depression is just extremely dangerous, and I don't think it should be done. I genuinely think that we should just stick to depressed. depressed. I think being depressed is a real thing. I don't think having depression is a real thing. Now, if you disagree with me and that insults you, I'm genuinely sorry. It is not my intention. I know there are such things as chemical imbalances and that you can take stuff to help with that, but I know that a lot of those pills that help with feeling depressed and sad also completely take away your ability to be happy. They take away almost all emotions, and that's not all the pills, I will say. I just know that some most definitely do, and they can be just as dangerous. The first step, the very, very first step in which you are on this video, so I feel like you are honestly probably there, is actually wanting to get out of the being depressed. That is number one. You gotta want it. Honestly, you have to. Otherwise, you're just gonna give up. Right, now we're gonna dive into the religious aspect of this whole thing. I think a very important thing to remember is that God wants what is best for us, not what is good for us in the moment. Now, obviously, we don't want to be sad in the moment, right? So why can't God just, bam, evaporate the sadness and what's bothering us? In my opinion, I don't think that would be what's best for us, because it was through my healing that I learned the stuff to actually keep me happy. So for example, in my life, being depressed for those years was what was best for me. I didn't enjoy it. I did not have fun. It gave me the mindset that I have today to get out of this situation, to get out of being depressed, to get away from that whole negative thinking aspect. Am I perfect? By no means am I perfect. I'm still human. I still think negatively. Probably, I have negative thoughts, obviously, every single day. I mean, everybody pretty much does, right? But I know how to somewhat control them and flip them into a positive. Not only myself that I gained a better understanding of, I gained a better understanding of other people and the world in general. And it really gave me a better insight as to how little a lot of things actually matter, which really helps with depression. Or to being depressed. It gave me the ability to relate to people and to help people through their problems or issues or struggles, whatever the right terminology is. Struggles, I assume. We'll go with that. And religiously as well, in talks with people that are struggling. For example, I've had someone say that because I've been through this kind of stuff and because I have this mindset that I do because of what I went through, and now came to the conclusion that Christ is the way, it's a bit easier for them to take it in because they feel like they can actually relate. That was a horrendous mess. I think it kind of discourages people when people have kind of had this cookie cutter life, it's been perfect for them. They haven't really had to struggle a whole lot, or at least not the same struggles. And then they follow Jesus, you know what I mean? And obviously, shout out to those people that still follow Jesus, even though they're comfortable and have a good life. I don't want to take anything away from them. I just think people see that their life is already good and they decide that Jesus is the way, and then they see their life is hard and they're like, oh, you don't understand because you've never been through something difficult, you know what I mean? So it's a good way for people to relate and see that even though I've been through dark times, I see that Jesus is the way. And he absolutely is the way. Let me tell you, God is so good. He is so good, and he is always there for you, no matter what. Always. Now, that does not mean he's going to put you on his back and carry you the way I carried my boy Basics in Search and Destroy. Love you, Basics, and the other boys. I'm just playing around. But him carrying you is not how it works, and it's not how anything really works. You do still have to put an effort. Now, I will say, throughout my depression and my at times unbelief, he most definitely carried me out of dark spots. He most definitely 110% did. But because I did not put in effort, and because I didn't try to follow him, and because I didn't really thank him for some things, not until way later anyway, but because I did not put in effort to stay out of those dark places, it just came back. You see, while he is all powerful, he's our creator, he is all loving and caring and merciful, he also created free will for us so we can make our own decisions and our own life choices and choose to follow. He created and gifted us this free will, as it says in Galatians 5:13. For you have been called to live in freedom, my brothers and sisters, but don't use your freedom to satisfy your sinful nature. Instead, use your freedom to serve one another in love. Then 14 goes on to say, for the whole law can be summed up in this one command: love your neighbor as yourself. Which love is a choice, right? You choose to love another person. I guess unless it's like love at first sight type of thing, you know what I'm saying? But ultimately, you choose to show love to another person. But it tells us we can use our free will for good or evil. It's up to us. Choose whether or not we want to believe in Jesus and trust Jesus, as it says in John 3:16, or live our lives and eternity separate from him. See, I don't believe that hell is a punishment. I believe that ultimately it's a choice, honestly. It's using our free will to choose separation from God. And God just respects that free will choice. Honestly, that's a topic for another time. I know that's a very bold statement to just make and move on from, especially in this type of video, but there is more to it, and I will get to it at a later date if you guys want to hear more. If you are interested in it, don't be afraid to leave a comment asking me a question or message me on Twitter or Instagram. All my links are in the description there. However, should we choose to run to Christ and trust in him and love him in our struggles, he most definitely does bring rest. For example, Matthew 11:28-30 says, come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light. And also Psalm 34:17-18 says, the Lord hears his people when they call to him for help. He rescues them from their troubles. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. He rescues those whose spirits are crushed. Depression, dude, that is what it is. And then again, Psalm 145:18-19 says, the Lord is close to all who call on him. Yes, to all who call on him in truth. He grants the desires of all who fear him. He hears their cries for help and rescues them. Notice how it says in truth. That means you gotta mean it. You gotta want it. You can't just be coming to him like, oh, I expect nothing's gonna happen. I'm gonna say this anyway and hope for the best. Like, no, you have to mean it. He wants to guide you out of your struggles. And let me tell you, there's an incredible beauty of getting through the struggles as opposed to being ripped out of them by an all-powerful force. You grow in numerous ways. You figure out how to not get stuck in this being depressed again. You grow into being able to help other people through our hard times, which is incredibly rewarding for not only you, but to other people as well, of course. Or to even just give them an understanding ear to talk to, which is a lot of the time what people just simply need. You grow in strength and sight and being able to flip situations into positives even if they weren't in the first place. And should you use your free will to do so, you grow closer to Jesus. Because let me tell you, like I said in my testimony video, he's at the door. My front door is over there. He is at the door knocking. You just gotta open it, dude. You just have to open it. He's always there. And if you didn't watch that video to open it, just pray and read your Bible. Just ask for wisdom, ask for a soft heart, ask him to open your eyes and ears to hear and see. And I promise you, you come to him in truth and he will. I promise you he will. Sorry for not playing in the background here. I'm just kind of, I'm trying to close up real quick because I got to leave. I'm going to close by saying, if you're going through it right now, if you're going through a tough time, if you're depressed, know that it is not forever. I promise you wholeheartedly it is not forever if you choose it to be. You have to know that ultimately it not being forever is up to you. It is ultimately up to you. It's definitely not going to be easy. Being depressed is insanely comfortable. It's so easy to just be sad, and I get it. I do. I truly do. I sat in my feelings for years because I didn't want to put in effort. I wanted to be catered to emotionally. I didn't want to have to try to be happy. It sounded so intimidating and difficult, and I just didn't want to. I enjoyed the simplicity and the easy access to an excuse as to why my life wasn't panning out the way I wanted it to be. And then I would use the fact that things weren't panning out the way I wanted it to be to fuel my depression, or being depressed. Sorry. Depression just rolls off the tongue so much easier, and I understand why we started saying it that way. It's just, it is dangerous. So I mean being depressed, but it's difficult. It most definitely is. But if you start today, you take a step towards a better life, and I know you will get there. Change is scary, but I think that sitting in sadness for the entirety existence of Earth and later is way more scary. It's so terrifying. There's so much good out there, so much, and there's so much good in Jesus Christ of Nazareth, and he wants to share it with you. I promise you he wants to share it with you. He wants to share his love with you, and he wants to help carry you out of this state. I mean, think about the footprints in the sand story, right? He's always there. Listen, I love you, Jesus loves you, and you're gonna get out of this. I promise you will. Everything happens for a reason. Even if your heart is blind to it in this moment, God will open up the sight lines when the time is right. Trust the process, put in effort, pray, and open up your Bible. Don't let the enemy win, dude. He's trying to keep you there. Satan is trying to keep you in that position. Don't let him win. I hope this video spoke to you. If you are in that state, or if you know somebody, please send it over to them. And if there's anything you want to correct or feel that I got wrong, feel free to let me know in the comments. And also check the comments for those who don't have anything to comment to make sure that I didn't get anything wrong, in accordance to other people anyway. But all right, thank you so much for watching, and yeah, God bless you all.